Throughout the history of American transportation, the interstate system has been such an important and influential factor. Every state has had its own unique history of how these highways were built and planned. Over the latter half of the 20th century, a freeway boom took place throughout the country, with every state approving their plans and constructing massive highways within their cities and to connect their cities. This was especially common in more suburban regions where there was less history and dense urbanization, making it easier to construct these large freeways and interstate highways. If we look at somewhere like Texas, the amount of interstates throughout the state is very high, and it played a role in how cities developed. Now, when you think of these very suburban cities, the two cities that immediately come to mind for me are Houston and Phoenix. Two very similar metropolitan areas, but there's actually a pretty major difference. Houston has several major interstate and spur routes, while Phoenix has just two interstates, I-17 and I-10, with I-8 connecting to the south of the metro. There are actually 0 spur routes in all of Arizona, a state you'd expect to see a lot more interstate expansion in. So today I'm going to tell you why. Before that though, I wanted to thank today's sponsor, Atlas VPN. We live in a time where so much of the day is spent online in one way or another. In this world, everyone should have a VPN. What if you're traveling to Germany to drive really fast on the Autobahn, and you want to watch your favorite show on Netflix, but it's blocked in that region? You can easily fix this by turning on Atlas VPN and switching your location back to the amazing United States of America. It's that easy. And it's also incredibly affordable. Now, Atlas VPN Premium is just $183 per month, plus 3 months extra, with a 30-day money-back guaranteed. You can take this deal by clicking the link in the video description below. Be quick, as it's a limited time offer. Atlas VPN is very useful for protecting your privacy online. It blocks all malicious links, ads, and trackers, and notifies you when someone is trying to steal your data. You can also search the web with real and organic search results, and do it without tracking your activity. Again, Atlas VPN Premium is just $1.83 per month, plus 3 months extra, and with the 30-day money-back guarantee. Protect your privacy and get many benefits of Atlas VPN for a ridiculously low price. You can take this deal by clicking the link in the video description below. Make sure to support Atlas VPN because you're also supporting me and my channel by doing so, and it's a very helpful and easy product. Thank you to Atlas VPN for sponsoring this video. So going back to Arizona, it's located in the Sun Belt, this region of the southern US. This is an area that's known for developing later on in history because it was too warm to create large metropolitan areas until the development of air conditioning, which didn't become widespread until the 1950s. That means that expansive growth wasn't really possible until around then. Now this lines up pretty well with major freeway expansion. The interstate system was signed in 1956, as construction started across the country in various metropolitan areas to build expansive freeway networks. Now because of how late these cities majorly developed, the idea of suburbanization had become common, and the cities were expanding outwards at an increased rate, using less dense developments. This made it a lot easier to build freeways. If you're in a dense, more historic city, though not impossible, it's a lot harder to plan freeways, cutting through neighborhoods and extended built-up areas, and actually having them approved. But if you're in a newer suburban area, it's both easier to avoid neighborhoods and less destructive to go through them. So this went into the thought process of many Sunbelt cities, which continued to build beltways and various new freeways around their cities. Now, let's go back to Arizona. If we look in the Phoenix metro, we find a pretty normal freeway system for a suburban city of its size. No contiguous beltway, but rather a few sort of half beltways around the Salt River Valley, more populated areas. If you look at this city, it doesn't seem too out of the ordinary. But the main issue is that there are just 2 interstates. See, normally, these freeways around the city would be designated as interstate spur routes and receive federal funding, but instead they're either U.S. or state highways. So why is this? Well, to find out, we need to go back into Arizona's controversial interstate construction history. So it started back in the 1960s with the iconic Route 66. This road, known by all, passed through the northern part of the state and went through cities like Flagstaff, Kingman, and you can't forget Winona. Through the early half of the 20th century, this road was the most major way to get from the Midwest to the Southwest. This is obviously an integral part of the state's history, and they took pride in the road. So when I-40 was planned to bypass the entire path through the state, there was some major opposition. See, with the new interstate highway cutting time off of travel, it had to bypass towns that survived purely off of tourism from the route. These old touristy towns began to die out, and the road itself lost so much importance because of the saved time on I-40. This put a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, especially towards the interstate system specifically. Complaints about what had happened were not easy to address by the government. State legislators considered outlawing these urban bypasses altogether, but couldn't because of funding concerns with the FHA. Then moving to the more urban areas in Phoenix, there were more problems. Multiple segments of Interstate 10 were incredibly difficult to build, especially in the city, including through the downtown. This highway, called the Papago Freeway, was designed to form an inner loop that would connect Maricopa and Black Canyon freeways to downtown Phoenix. In 1969, plans were approved for an elevated freeway that would rise up 100 feet above street level, which was meant to minimize disruption of the city's streets and utility grid. But as you can imagine, there was major opposition to an 100-foot tall freeway plan, and the plan was brought to a standstill that would last for almost a decade. If we move down to Tucson, it has one of the most striking lack of interstates and freeways of any city in the country for its size. I-10 runs through the city, with I-19 connecting in the south part of the city. Other than that, there's no freeway routes. At the time of the interstate's construction, Tucson had no other plans to build freeways in the city, so it came as a bit of a surprise. After construction went smoothly on the planned interstates, Tucson officials wanted to expand the city's freeway system. As early as 1960, transportation planners had proposed building another freeway in the city, and by 1966, they had full plans for that freeway that would run eastward from I-10 between Speedway Boulevard and Grant Road. This proposal would end up being struck down by fierce opposition in the city, starting a pattern that would be repeated over and over in Tucson over the coming decades, resulting in no new routes ever being built. So between these two cities, not many people wanted new freeway routes to be built, and they just weren't getting approved. This meant they weren't going to the government asking for federal funding incentives, and the spurs were never adopted into the interstate system. Now, as time went on, this ended up becoming a problem. So especially in Phoenix, freeways did end up getting built around the metro. But later on, it took so long to get all the freeways approved, and they were all put off for so long. You can actually look back on historic satellite imagery and see that not even I-10 was completed by 1984. And in the coming years, it shows the outlines of interstates being constructed around the area. Now, why is that a problem? Well, the whole state of Arizona ended up building their freeways so late that they missed the federal funding incentive for states, given out by the federal government with the interstate system. This meant while other states had gotten their routes done, received federal dollars, and had their roads accepted as interstate spur routes, Arizona was left to fend for itself. And all of these highways were forced to just become state routes. For Phoenix, the traffic had become bad enough that this didn't stop them from making an extensive system of freeways around the metro. But for somewhere like Tucson, there was never enough support to warrant spending only state dollars to build a beltway or a spur route. So it stayed without urban freeways besides the major two. This has made Arizona one of just 3 states with no interstate spur route, along with Alaska and New Mexico. New Mexico suffered from the same problem, and Alaska just doesn't really need it. Arizona is by far the most populous state without a single spur route, and it's definitely fun to learn about why. Thanks for watching. Thank you to the members this week: Boss King Inc., Uncouver, Polpot's Piehole, Blang, Christopher DeAngelis, JL, Darkbird, Elijah Pass, Big Pasty, Jeremy Crone, Wolflink73, Snyder Schwein, Florida Jake, Stormy Knight, Nikita Martinov, KMS162, Benjamin Whiting, Ryan Devins, Hazev the Wolf, Dominic Psyche, Rosebud4, and Bryson. I appreciate you all. You really help out the channel. If you want to become a channel member, the link is down in the description below. It's basically just another way to help out the channel if you appreciate the content and want to help just me out. It all goes into my savings for like a car and college and stuff. So it's really just helping me out as a person if you appreciate the content. Thank you.